Hey YouTube, welcome to the White Streets of New Capenna set review. I am here talking about all the cards. We just did all the golds and artifacts and lands. Now we're going to do the white cards. Up first is Angelic Observer. Angelic Observer is 5 and a white for a creature Angel Advisor at uncommon. It's a 3/3. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each citizen you control. It's got flying. Obviously this sucks for 6 mana. It sucks for 5. It's playable for 4. And it's pretty good for 3, 2, or 1. Can anyone join the sweatsuit? I don't know how that will change. Yeah, you want to make sure you're in citizens, obviously. If you're not making citizens, this card is unplayable. If you're making citizens, this card is much more playable. It reminds me of the Samurai, I think. But you must be making citizens and not making a couple. You must be making a lot of them. So pick it relatively lowly until you definitely know that you are in the citizens deck. Do not pick this to get into the citizens deck. So pack 1, I'm on like wheel here. I want like a rare or uncommon citizen maker for me to start jumping in on this. But once I'm there, this card's an auto include. Up next is Backup Agent. Backup Agent is 1 and a white for a creature human citizen at common. It's a 1/1. When Backup Agent enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Yeah, you know, okay. Like, if you got a flyer, cool. If you got an unblockable creature, cool. If you got a creature that would be bigger, cool. If you have to have a 2/2, cool. This is filler-ish, a way to get a counter going. You don't have to spend a really high pick on this. You can go 7th, 8th pick. Probably even wheel this in general. Not a late wheel, but like a 9th pick, 10th pick wheel. It's just very filler. Up next is Ballroom Brawlers. Ballroom Brawlers is 3 white for a creature human warrior at uncommon. It's a 3/5 for 5. Whenever Ballroom Brawlers attacks Ballroom Brawlers and up to 1 other target creature you control, both gain your choice of first strike or lifelink until end of turn. Okay. And it always triggers, right? Whenever Ballroom Brawlers attacks by itself, it and up to 1 other target. Okay, yeah. So this is a 3/5 lifelink or first striker on attacks for 5. That seems pretty decent. And then, if you're attacking with anything else, you could throw first strike and or lifelink, not and or, sorry, or lifelink on one of the other things too. This seems fine. It seems a little expensive, but I also wouldn't want this in the set cheaper. 1 effect on both, your choice. Both gain first strike or right. So you pick first strike for both, or you pick lifelink for both. Yeah, I mean this. What does this fit into? It feels like it's just a good card that doesn't necessarily fit any of the specific archetypes, which is fine. I think it's in like the 5th, 6th pick range. Because like it's notably not trample, it's notably not flying. It blocks real frickin' well. It's not a citizen. Doesn't make a treasure. Doesn't make counters. It's just good. So maybe even a little bit lower, maybe like 5th or 6th pick. Let's go 6th pick for Ballroom Brawlers. I'll be curious to see how it goes. Everything about it looks good. It might not fit. We'll see. Up next is Boon of Safety. Boon of Safety is a single white mana for an instant at common. Put a shield counter on target creature. Scry 1. Yay! We can pay 1 mana on a common to give anything we want a shield counter. My giant 6/6 dragon, it's got a shield counter. I'm gonna hate shield counters so much. This reminds me of God's Willing. This reminds me of Snakeskin Veil, etc. It's got a little bit less sway than God's Willing. God's Willing giving protection had the amazing play line of giving your creature unblockable because your opponent only had black creatures or green creatures or whatever. This is not as good as God's Willing by a pretty wide margin. It's mostly annoying and that I dislike shield counters. This is still a very low pick. Like, we're still talking wheel, probably. And you need to have a spot to put this in your deck. But it's going to be real annoying because it's going to play like a Snakeskin Veil or something. It's going to, you know, negate removal or stuff like that, or make a creature win combat, and or it's just like protection for your bomb. So this goes up the more high value creatures you have in your deck as well, I think. But I think you should be able to wheel these, and it's not God's Willing. As annoyed as I am by shield counters, it's still not even God's Willing. So wheel it, have a spot for your deck, and to hell with shield counters. Up next is Broker's Initiate. Broker's Initiate is a single white mana for a creature cat citizen at common. It's an 0/4. Pay 4 and a Simic. Broker's Initiate has base power and toughness 5/5 until end of turn. This is kind of the bottom of the barrel for citizens. If you're looking for citizens, there's probably better options. If you're looking for blockers, there's probably better options. But this option exists. But you should wheel it. I can't imagine spending a real pick on it. And then, hey, if you have 5 mana laying around and want to swing on in with a 5/5 or present a real big blocker, that's cool. But I think you can probably find better cards in a lot of cases. So wheel this, and you should know if you actually should play it or not. Up next is Buy Your Silence. Buy Your Silence is 4 and a white for a sorcery at common. Exile target non-land permanent. Its controller creates a treasure token. So here's one of the only ways to deal with shield counters, like directly, instantaneously. Plus it also hits planeswalkers and enchantments and stuff like that. It is expensive. It is sorcery. We're used to this with white. These spells tend to vary between being playable or not playable. I can't remember the Ravnica one that we had recently. And it does give your opponent a treasure token, but that's not a big deal. It's not the worst thing in the world. You can probably pick this pretty late, like the 8th pick range. There is better removal in this format that we'll see, but this exists should you need it. Up next is Celebrity Fencer. Celebrity Fencer is 3 and a white for a creature elf druid at common. It's a 3/2 with Alliance. We haven't seen this yet. Alliance is creature landfall. So whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Celebrity Fencer. Absolutely awful as a 4 mana 3/2. Put that first counter on it. Hey, it's okay. If it gets a second counter on it, we did it. This card's okay. It's pretty filler, but does pretty rapidly stop being filler. But I think you can still 8th pick this on the regular. You don't have to spend like a valuable pick on this. And I could even see decks where you just don't play this. Like, obviously you want to be making tokens. You want to be making, you know, like 3 creatures a turn, and they're all 1/1s that I don't care about, but this got +3/+3. But yeah, you probably don't need to spend a super real pick on this. So let's 8th pick a shit. Up next is Citizen's Crowbar. Citizen's Crowbar is a piece of crap crowbar. You'll see why in a second. 1 and a white for an artifact equipment at uncommon. When Citizen's Crowbar enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 green and white citizen creature token, then attach Citizen's Crowbar to it. Equipped creature has +1/+1 and has pay a white, tap it, and sacrifice it to destroy target artifact or enchantment. Who wants a crowbar that breaks the first time you smash something with it? Equip for 2. So it's a 2 mana 2/2. That has pay a white and remove a +1/+1 counter from it to destroy target artifact or enchantment, kind of, if you want to think about it that way. There's some usability here, there's some utility here, but we've seen most of the artifacts in the set, and they're not really worth putting in a thing specifically to kill them. So I think you can probably sideboard this in, unless you're looking for a citizen. It's kind of cool that it makes a citizen, but again, try to find better ways of making citizens. Try to find better equipment. I would wheel this and probably keep it in the side unless I was desperate for another citizen. Up next is Dapper Shieldmate. Dapper Shieldmate is 3 and a white for a creature human soldier at common. It's a 2/2. Dapper Shieldmate enters the battlefield with a shield counter on it, in case you didn't get that. As long as it's your turn, Dapper Shieldmate gets +2/+0. 4 mana 2/2 is real bad. I don't think I need to tell you to not play that. It attacks as a 4/2, which is still pretty bad for 4 mana, but it does get to attack once. Just indestructible. Except, of course, a 1/1 can chump it and remove the counter. This seems extraordinarily filler. Wheel it, and I don't think you always play this. I think you might even more often than not play it. If you're looking for counters, maybe. Notably, this is not a citizen. It abysses, but it abysses like a 1/1. So I don't think you need to play this card most of the time. So wheel, and I think you probably don't play it a lot of the time. Up next is Depopulate. Depopulate is 2 white for a sorcery at rare. Each player who controls a multicolored creature draws a card, then destroy all creatures. Remember how I was saying that I want my Wrath to be a Wrath? This is a Wrath. 4 mana. 4 mana, nuke the board. Maybe worst case scenario, my opponent gets to draw a creature or draw a card and I don't. Oh no. First pick. Real good, real cheap Wrath. Up next is Elspeth Resplendent. Oh, that's fair. It would not kill shield stuff. So again, I need to refer you to the section of the Magic rules which say to hell with shield counters. But yes, that would be the true worst case scenario. Up next is Elspeth Resplendent. Elspeth Resplendent is 3 white for a legendary planeswalker. Elspeth at Mythic starts with 5 loyalty +1. Choose up to 1 target creature. Put a +1/+1 counter and a counter from among flying, first strike, lifelink, or vigilance on it. So they permanently get flying, first strike, lifelink, or vigilance. -3, look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may put a permanent card with mana value 3 or less from among them right onto the battlefield with a shield counter on it. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. -7, just make 5 3/3 white angel creature tokens with flying. First pick. Super duper bomby planeswalker. Every single mode is fantastic. It takes 2 turns for her to be at 7. She starts at 5, immediately goes to 6. Next turn 7. Next turn you've got 15/15 in the air. Absolutely ludicrous. First pick. Doesn't defend itself. Oh no. First pick. Up next is Extraction Specialist. Extraction Specialist is 2 and a white for a creature human rogue at rare. It's a 3/2 with lifelink. When Extraction Specialist enters the battlefield, return target creature card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. That creature can't attack or block for as long as you control Extraction Specialist. 3 mana 3/2 lifelink that does a weird Sun Titan ability. Sun Titan was 2 or less, right? You know, not as amazing as you would hope in limited. You know, this isn't constructed. All of our 2-drops aren't crazy, ridiculous mythics that we, bought out of the singles binder. Sun Titan's 3, okay. Most of our 2-drops are 2/3s that have vigilance or something, which isn't bad, but they've got to be in the graveyard. So, this is, again, not really a rare that I want to see in my rare slot, but it's a creature that I'll certainly always play. I think I'm in like the 3rd-ish, 4th-ish pick range for this one. It's just, it's one of those cases of making the stars align to actually have a 2-drop in your deck in the right time. But it's also just a 3/2 lifelinker for 3. So let's go third, fourth pick. Hope it all works out. Worst case scenario isn't unplayable, though. Up next is Gathering Throng. Gathering Throng is 2 and a white for a creature human citizen at common. It's a 3/1. When Gathering Throng enters the battlefield, you may search your library for any number of cards named Gathering Throng, reveal them and put them into your hand, then shuffle. This is hilarious. I saw somebody be like, I haven't seen anybody talking about Gathering Throng yet. Like, this really strongly reminds me of Lesson Learn. Which I found funny, because this reminds me of literally cards that we've seen like this, like Foot Soldier Battalion, and the Vampire one, and Suntail Hawk, Squadron Hawk. We've seen these cards before, and they're barely okay, kind of okay. Like, the issue that I have is the sets keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which means that every card becomes more and more and more rare. Last time we saw this, it was in a small set, literal small set, Rivals of Ixalan. Literal small set, 100 and something cards. So the commons were common. You could get 2, 3, 4 of them. It's getting harder and harder and harder to just pick up a bunch of these. I don't want to play one of these, ever. I want my 3/1s to be 2. There was one in Ikoria. What was the Ikoria one? I don't remember that one at all. But I've also blanked Ikoria out of my mind. I don't really want to play 2 of these, because, of course, the thing to always remember is maybe you draw your second copy before you play your first one. Like, I don't know. I don't really care for this. I don't think it's a citizen. It's a citizen. I missed that fact for a moment there. Whisper Squad was real different. Whisper Squad was like, you pay mana, or wasn't Whisper Squad like the first one draws the next one, and then the next one draws the next one or something? It wasn't just go and get all of them. I don't think. Unless I'm super misremembering. Yeah, I'm not super sold on this, other than the fact that it's a citizen. I just hate cards that require you to find specific other cards in the packs, because you can't just do that. You can't just guarantee that. So I'm pretty out on Gathering Throng as anything more than filler. So let's go like 8th-ish pick on it. And it's saved basically solely by the fact that it's a citizen, I think. Yeah, so Whisper Squad was 2 mana, search your library for 1, and put it onto the battlefield. Yeah, wildly different card than Whisper Squad. Up next is Giada, Font of Hope. Giada, Font of Hope is 1 and a white for a legendary creature angel at rare. It's a 2/2 with flying and vigilance. Each other angel you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it for each angel you already control. Tap, add white, spend this mana only to cast an angel spell. Let's go to Scryfall. Type angel. Rarity less than rare. 6 of them. 6 of them. With 4 of them at common. And 2 at uncommon. Yeah. Yeah, you could ultimate this with Elspeth, which is, I believe, the story. So it's a 2/2 flying vigilance for 2. Already good. Find yourself some more angels and things just go nutty. I think you first pick this to try to build around it. I don't think it's a first pick because it's a literal bomb by itself, because it's not. But the build around exploration is so low cost because there's a good number of angels and it's a heck of a payoff if you do get there. So I'm in on Giada, absolute first pick, and try to build around it as much as possible. Have exactly 1 other angel, maybe 2. With 4 commons. With 4 commons, all in blue or white, you can probably push your way into at least a couple. And 2 uncommons as well. You can certainly get a bit more. And yeah, if you miss, it's still totally fine as a 2-mana 2/2 flying vigilance. So yeah, first pick for Giada. Up next is Halo Fountain. Halo Fountain is 2 and a white for an artifact at Mythic. Pay a white tap and untap a tapped creature you control. Create a 1/1 green and white citizen creature token. Pay white tap, untap 2 tapped creatures you control. Draw a card. White tap, untap 15 tapped creatures you control. Win the game. You're never doing the bottom one because first off, how did you tap 15 creatures? You're certainly doing the first one, though. The first one seems like an incredible citizen token generator. The middle one feels a little bit win more because I feel like if you have 2 tapped creatures, you're probably attacking with them. You attacked and used the ability before damage. You attacked with 15 creatures. How did you not already win the game? I think this is more cute than anything. But I think it's probably an okay citizen producer, which is unfortunate for a mythic. I would want more than an okay citizen producer, but I think you'll still play this in your white decks. Just know that the bottom one is, what if they also have 15 creatures? True. I think this is not the mythic I want to open, but I think you'll play it, and I think you'll make a bunch of citizens, and I think you'll draw a couple of cards, maybe a few, and you certainly won't win the game from the bottom ability. I don't know what that means for pick. Like, I'm feeling 4th, which means I'll never see it because somebody's going to pick it and be like, haha, I'm going to make 15 creatures. So I'm going to go 4th and I'll never see it ever. Never, ever, 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 ever. Up next is Hold for Ransom. Hold for Ransom is 1 and a white for an enchantment aura at common. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature can't attack or block and has pay 7. Hold for Ransom's controller sacrifices it and draws a card. Activate only as a sorcery. I like it. I like it. It's worse than just straight up murdering something. So it's in like the 4th-ish range, 4th, 5th pick range. But you want to deal with a shield counter? Here's a way to deal with a shield counter. Yes, at some point, far off in the future, they can draw a card and get rid of this. Cost them their entire turn. Like, don't play this if your plan is to go to turn 20 and win them by pinging them for 1 damage every turn. But an aggro deck with this? Totally in. Totally in. No, you don't get the card. The controller. Or wait, hold for Ransom's controller sacrifice. No, hold for... Oh, yeah, you draw the card. Oh, cool. Yeah, you draw the card. Cool. That's great. I love it. I get a card back. Absolutely love this. I'm in on this card in the 4th, 5th pick range. Yes, it's a little bit worse than other removal. Let's do a minor pacifism is bad talk. People will, of course, say pacifism is bad in this set because of casualty. People can sacrifice the creature. Therefore, this card is unplayable. If you're holding for Ransom their 6/6 flying dragon, and they sack their 6/6 flying dragon in order to copy their card that draws them a card, I think you've done pretty well. Because there's no other situation where they're going to sack their 6/6 flying dragon to copy draw a card. This has always been true. All the way back to the original pacifism is bad argument, dealing with exploit in Dragons of Tarkir or Fate Reforged, whatever it was. Pacifism is always good. Always. What's more is there is another mechanic in this set that this is great against, and that is shield counters. So, pacifism's great. Anybody who's trying to tell you that it's bad is lying to you. And you should call them a liar to their face. Up next is Illuminator Virtuoso. Illuminator Virtuoso is 1 and a white for a creature human rogue at uncommon. It's a 1/1 with double strike. Whenever Illuminator Virtuoso becomes the target of a spell you control, it connives. Okay, I hate 1/1 double strikes for 2. We've seen these. Fencing Ace, most notably, because you have to do something to this. You have to do something to it. Now, unlike Fencing Ace, when you do something to it, you also connive, which is kind of cool. But you got to do something to it. So, I don't like this card. The fact that it connives when you do something to it, I still don't like, because now we're talking about spending a card to play this and then spending a card to do something to it to hopefully draw a card and do some other stuff. It is don't play bad cards to enable other good cards. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this. I'm putting this like on the wheel. People will pick it more highly because everybody always dreams about jamming 5 counters on this or something, and now I've built a 10/10 and looted 5 times. You're not going to do that most of the time because your opponent's going to remove this before you do it. They're going to 2-for-1 you. You are going to build this up for it to be pacified or bounced or something. You are going to draw this and then not draw the cards that you need to do stuff to it. You're going to draw and use the cards to do stuff, and then you're going to draw this late and it's terrible. I'll wheel this and probably not play it. I just don't like it. Up next is Inspiring Overseer. Inspiring Overseer is 2 and a white for a creature angel cleric common. It's a 2/1 flyer. When Inspiring Overseer enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life and draw 1 card. Is this literally the priest, but with flying? It is literally the priest, but with flying. Apparently, Adventures in Forgotten Realm was not powerful enough. Yeah, this card's good. The priest was very good. This card is even better than the priest. It's also an angel. You'll pick this pretty highly. Probably like 4th-ish pick. There will be packs where you'll do it 3rd. I hope you don't see packs too often where you do it 2nd. But this card's very, 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 very good. Also an angel if you happen to have Giada. Up next is Kill Shot. This is a reprint. 2 and a white for an instant at common. Destroy target attacking creature. It's not amazing, but you'll play it. I hate to spoil this for you, but your opponent will attack you in most games of Magic. Therefore, this card is castable because your opponent will attack you. It's fine. You're not going to pick it super highly. It's not 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th, or maybe 6th, but like 6th, 7th, 8th for Kill Shot, and you'll certainly play it. You know, it's no Gideon's Reproach because it can't be done on blocks, but it also just destroys anything. So, good card's good. Up next is Knockout Blow. Knockout Blow is 2 and a white for an instant at uncommon. This spell costs 2 less to cast if it targets a red creature. Knockout Blow deals 4 damage to target attacking or blocking creature, and you gain 2 life. Hey, look, it's Gideon's Reproach. It's Gideon's Reproach that randomly is ludicrously cheap. Also, pretty dang good. Probably better than Kill Shot. 4 damage will kill a pretty significant portion of the format. So we can put this up in the 4th, 5th pick range. It'll do what it needs to do. Gideon's Intervention, Wanderer's Intervention, Gideon's Reproach rather, Wanderer's Intervention. Good card. Up next is Mage's Attendant. Mage's Attendant is 2 and a white for a creature cat rogue at uncommon. It's a 3/2. When Mage's Attendant enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 blue wizard creature token with pay 1, sacrifice this creature. Counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 1. 3/2 for 3, okay. With a 1/1 that is not a citizen, and it has the world's worst negate on it because it only hits non-creature spell. Seems pretty filler. Like, I'm not going out of my way on this. It's not a relevant creature type. It doesn't make a relevant creature type. It's just like a normally statted body. I don't know. I think I'm on like 6th through 8th for this. This is just not pulling me in. I think I've heard that Obscura's archetype is sort of like control. But this is pretty bad control. 3 mana on 2, 4/3 stats for 3 mana on 2 bodies. Yeah, but that's never held sway with me. I've never ever prescribed to the idea of having a lot of 1/1s is much better than having one creature that can actually do something. Yeah, I'm on 6th through 8th. I'm not in for this card. You can play it. It's playable. Does creature fall stuff, I suppose. But yeah. Does creature fall stuff, but doesn't make citizens. Feels very filler. 6th through 8th pick. Up next is Mysterious Limousine. Mysterious Limousine is 3 white for an artifact vehicle at rare. It's a 4/4. Whenever Mysterious Limousine enters the battlefield or attacks, exile up to one other target creature until Mysterious Limousine leaves the battlefield. If a creature is put into exile this way, return every other creature exiled with Mysterious Limousine to the battlefield under its owner's control. Crew 2. So 5 mana O-Ring is pretty expensive. It's an O-Ring that can attack, though, and you don't have to exile anything else, so you can just keep the creature there. If there's a scarier threat, you can pop out the creature you had and grab the scarier threat. But, like, it's not a multi-O-Ring. It only ever exiles one thing. Because when you exile something, you unexile everything else. It re-triggers ETBs, but that feels like a little bit too cute. I feel like I want to play this as a 5 mana O-Ring that can attack. I grab one of their things and I attack. The issue being that I need to have an attack where this thing definitely doesn't die. Which feels like I'm just begging for win more, right? Can't be crewed by a 1/1. Could be crewed by a cat token. I don't know. I'm curious to see how this plays out. I'll start like 3rd picking it to see how it goes. And yes, there'll be cute things that you can do where you have ETB effects and you're like popping your guys in and out, but yeah, let's start 3rd pick on this because I want to use it as an expensive O-Ring that if I'm already ahead and have a good attack, I can attack with. Blocks well too, but again, I'm going to want to be very careful about blocking with it. But yeah, let's see how it goes. Let's start at a 3rd pick, and I can see it going wildly lower. Up next is Patch Up. Patch Up is 2 white for a sorcery and uncommon. Return up to 3 target creature cards with total mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. I mean, as long as you're paying 3 mana for 3, at least you're getting your value back. I just don't know how often I'm like, oh man, imagine if I had that 1/1 for 1 and that 2/2 or that 2/3 for 2. Life would be so much better at sorcery speed. Have we seen anything? I guess returning like an Overseer is cool. I guess that's probably the case, right? You're most happy about just recasting a 3-drop, basically. But again, you have to have cards in your yard or else this card is literally dead, and that probably just kills it for me right then and there. So F for me. F for me. I don't like cards that are literally uncastable unless things have gone right. So F for me for Patch Up. I don't like it. Up next is Rabble Rousing. Rabble Rousing is 4 white for an enchantment at rare. It's got Hideaway 5. Hideaway is a newly retooled mechanic. last seen in Lorwyn. Hideaway says, when this enchantment enters the battlefield, look at the top 5, because it says 5, cards of your library. Exile one of them face down, then put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So when you play this, you look at the top 5, choose one, secretly put it face down, exiled, under Rabble Rousing. That's it. That's all you do. Whenever you attack with one or more creatures, create that many 1/1 green and white citizen creature tokens. Then, if you control 10 or more creatures, you can play the exiled card without paying its mana cost. You just get to play it. Hideaway did used to inherently mean that it enters tapped. Hideaway no longer means that. So all the old cards now say, Hideaway 4, blah, 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 enters tapped. These ones don't enter tapped. Yeah, this is pretty expensive. 5 mana for an enchantment, but hopefully you play this pre-combat and can attack and make some number of citizen tokens. I worry slightly on this being 5 mana. I wonder a little bit on how much this is just a win more card. Like, haha, I attacked you with my 5 creatures because I'm in a position to attack you with 5 creatures, and now I have 10 creatures. When do we get to cast it? Whenever you attack, create that many. Okay, so if we attack with 5, create 10, 3 blocks, we get to cast whatever our card is that we chose. I'll play this. I worry about it being too expensive. We'll see how fast the format is. We'll see if you can play a 5 mana enchantment. Maybe it's a little bit win more, but I'll start first picking this. I could see it going lower though. So we'll see. Up next is Raffine's Guidance. Raffine's Guidance is a single white mana for an enchantment aura at common. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1. You may cast Raffine's Guidance from your graveyard by paying 2 and a white rather than paying its mana cost. So it's an aura that never goes away, but it is an aura that is only +1/+1. We don't care about modifying things anymore. Why do I want to play this? Specifically with the double striker? Don't play bad cards to make your bad cards good. Connive this away, and then I can cast it? I think there's just too many better cards. I think there's too many better cards for this. I say wheel, and if it ends up in your deck, I don't think it's unplayable, but I think you'll find better cards generally than this. Up next is Raffine's Informant. Raffine's Informant is 1 and a white for a 2/1 creature human wizard at common. When Raffine's Informant enters the battlefield, it connives. So 2/1 for 2, not the best, but it loots. That probably makes it fine. And should it be a 3/2 for 2? Cool, I guess. In the like 6th through 8th pick range, but you know, not something you're going out of the way to play, but something that you're probably usually playing, I would say. Up next is Refuse to Yield. Refuse to Yield is 1 and a white for an instant at uncommon. Target creature gets +2/+7 until end of turn. Untap it. I hate this card. It's not very good, and you should never play around it. And it's going to get you sometimes. And it's going to feel bad, and it's going to suck. And you should probably write a letter to WotC about it. But it doesn't mean that you should play it. Yeah. The reason for that is that it's not an offensive spell. It's not an offensive spell. +2 is okay. But this is a spell that you are putting in your deck to say, haha, I'm going to block. That's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to attack my opponent. I'm not going to threaten them. I guess you could attack because you can untap with this. But like, I'm not going to threaten them. I'm not going to be proactive at all. And then once I'm going to eat one of their creatures. Got him. You didn't get him. You didn't get him. I'm not playing this card. I have this as an F. I do not like it. I will get got by it. I will never play around it. I do not like it. I can never see myself having room to put this in one of my decks. Up next is Revelation of Power. Revelation of Power is 1 and a white for an instant at common. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. If it has a counter on it, it also gains flying and lifelink until end of turn. Not awful if you are definitely countery. Like if you're the blue-white whatever counter deck, flying notably is going to be huge on this. Oops, my 5/5 jumped in the air. But again, we're talking wheel, and if you have a spot, put it in your deck. And if you're definitely countery, then if you have a spot, put it in your deck. That's about it. Up next is Rumor Gatherer. Rumor Gatherer is 1 white for a creature, elf, wizard at uncommon. It's a 2/1 with Alliance. So whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1. If this is the second time this ability is resolved this turn, draw a card instead. So if you can double spell, you start refilling your hand. If you can make 2 tokens, I don't know, maybe a pair of fish, maybe a pair of citizens, maybe a pair of, no, not treasures, because those are not those are tokens, but not creatures. But if you can get multiple creatures going, probably if you're in the tokens deck, just straight up drawing cards off of the second one is good. And that's a very important thing that I reread. The second time you draw a card. So you would not get a 3rd card or a 4th card or a 5th card. You would only get the 1 card off of the second one explicitly. Good to know. Yeah, this is totally playable just for the scry 1, and yeah, try to draw some cards. So pretty high pick here. I'm talking like 4th-ish pick, I think. I think this card's good. Up next is Sanctuary Warden. Sanctuary Warden is 4 white for a creature, angel, soldier at Mythic. It's a 5/5 flyer. Sanctuary Warden enters the battlefield with 2 shield counters on it. Whenever Sanctuary Warden enters the battlefield or attacks, you may remove a counter from a creature or planeswalker you control. If you do, draw a card and make a 1/1 green and white citizen creature token. Super duper bomby angel is a bomb. First, pick it. Up next is Skycrier with art that I swear I've seen before. Skycrier, it looks like Sky Tether, I think. Skycrier is 1 and a white for a creature, bird, citizen at common. It's a 1/1 flying lifelink. Pay 3 and a white. You and target opponent each draw a card. No. If I need a citizen, maybe. I will attempt to find better citizens. I will attempt to find better cards. And I will probably never activate this card. So I think you can wheel this, and I'm going to try to find better cards. Up next is Speakeasy Server. Speakeasy Server is 4 and a white for a creature, bird, citizen at common. It's a 3/3 flyer. When Speakeasy Server enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life for each other creature you control. 3/3 flyer for 5 is a little bit over priced. Getting at, nope, doesn't even count itself. Gross. Getting 1 life for other creatures is nice, but this does feel in the filler citizen range, and you obviously don't want to play too many of these. You want to play 1. Probably just 1. So I think you can wheel this to get your first copy of it. Healer's Hawk for 1 mana more. We all know what I thought of Healer's Hawk. I hated Healer's Hawk. Up next is Swooping Protector. Swooping Protector is 3 and a white for a creature, bird, citizen, uncommon. It's a 2/1 flash flyer. ETBs with a shield counter. Little bit expensive for a 2/1 flyer. Flash is cool because you can just cast it at the end of your opponent's turn if you didn't end up using whatever spell you were holding up. It can jump in the way of something, but it's probably not eating whatever it's jumping in the way of. But this can like buy you a turn, which is not super why you would want to play this. But it's a citizen, and it does a bunch of work, so I think it's super playable. I think you're always playing it. But I think it is in like the 5th, 6th pick range. Yeah, it's gonna do a pretty bad ambush Viper impersonation. And that's it for white. Boy, yeah, there are fewer cards in each of these colors. So YouTube, thank you very much for watching white. Blue will be coming up next. Let me know anything you want to let me know in the comments, and I'll see y'all next time.